We had Halloween. I saw you over there helping protect the kids
Right.
on Valley River Avenue. And we just want to say thank you to you and all the other folks who are involved in public safety for keeping
Well,
those
thank you.
kids safe. Because it's one of those things that there's a lot of kids out there.
It's one of those things that every year I say, I'm not going to go back to Duke Street this year. I'm going to go to Andrews or go somewhere else, and or maybe spend some time at home with my family and stuff. But it's just one of those events that you feel like if you're not going to do anything else throughout the year, you need to be at Duke Street helping the kids at Halloween. And so I really enjoy that and really being over there, just kind of some of the kids wanting pictures made and get to take pictures with little kids in their police outfits and their SWAT outfits and, and all the different things they do. And it's just a good time fellowship and have fun with the people.
All right. And it was well attended. I understand the Andrews trunk or treat was very well attended too. And
It was.
I saw Mayor James Reed in his, I called it Hillary hair, but it was Donald Trump hair. I said, you
Right.
just flip to the other side. It could be the
could
other
be.
candidate.
Could be.
So he was having a good time, I could tell.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to the main story of the week. Earlier this week, Carolina Public Press printed a story, and the headline of that story, it says, former guards allege pattern of inmate abuse at North Carolina County Jail.
Right.
So for our folks who may not have read that article, well, first of all, I'm not very familiar with the Carolina. I know that I've
Right.
shared a few things with them in the past, but who exactly is Carolina Public Press and where are they out
Well,
of?
I don't know exactly. It's my understanding they're based out of Charlotte, possibly Asheville. I'm not sure, but my information is they come out of Charlotte, and they're kind of a news organization out there. I don't even know if they do printed press. I think most of their press releases come via the internet and do blogs and things of that nature. They may do a printed paper. I don't know.
I'm not
I've just
sure
never
either.
seen one.
I'm thinking that it's kind of
Yeah.
a new startup, isn't it?
I think so.
I think so, too.
it's some reporters from other newspapers that had left other newspapers kind of come together and form their own business and kind of like a startup.
So there was that story, and then the Cherokee Scout ran their stories on this week's paper
Right.
too. And
Yeah.
so if you can just kind of fill folks in, and I
Well-
know you can't tell everything that you want to tell because
Right.
of whatever. So let's go ahead and just
Well,
talk
I'm going to
about
explain
that.
a lot of that. I want to start off by saying truly, of the time I've been sheriff, this is probably the most heartbreaking week that I've had. I mean, I've just been honest. It is. We kind of pride ourselves on wanting to do the best for everyone we come in contact with. And we pride ourselves on wanting to do the best for our community and do the best for everybody that we come in contact with, including our prisoners, including our inmates. And we've had multiple meetings at the detention center over the last 4 years and stressing that, that the inmates are under enough stress, so we don't need to put more stress on them, and that, we need to do what we can to alleviate some of that stress on the inmates and things of that nature. So it's been a very heartbreaking week for me. I'm disheartened on many levels. And as far as being disheartened, I want to say that I would love to be able to, and I want to, my desire is, I'd love to go through that newspaper article line by line and talk about every line in it and address everything in that newspaper article. However, I can't do that. There are different laws that prevent me from doing that. There's employment laws, there's personnel laws, there's federal laws, there's HIPAA laws, there's all kind of different things that prevent us from responding to what is written. And I want to try to attempt to clear a few things up that was written in there. And I can't talk about, of course, like I say, everything. But I don't want people to think I'm avoiding the issue. I don't want people to think that anything's being hidden or under the table. So I want to explain why I can't respond to some of it.
And that's really people's gut reaction when they
Right.
don't hear an answer. They
Right.
think that you're trying to cover something up.
Yeah. And I'm going to, the next little bit, I want to take a few minutes and try to explain some of this that hopefully will clarify not only the reasons why, but also clarify some of the issues that were stated there in that article. The first thing is I guess the first thing I can't comment on would be it involves personnel issues. When you have ex-employees and you have people who are employees at the detention center that make statements and goes out and talks about working conditions and different things at the detention center, I'm prohibited by law to talk about that. The only thing I can do when I talk about a person's employment is I'm able to talk about their hire date, the date that they left, the reason they left, whether it's termination or they resigned, and their wage they made while they're there. Other than that, I can't talk about them.
And I think as an employer, I'm in the same boat
You're in the same
there.
boat. Yeah. So when you have ex-employees that make allegations and things that happen during their employment or things that happen during that process, they are protected by law to say whatever they want to say. But also, I'm held by the law not to respond. And so I hope people understand that and understand why. There's a lot of things within that I can't even talk about, I can't respond to. And let me give you an example of that. If Tim was my employee, he was a detention officer or a deputy or administration, or he worked for me in any capacity, and I found out that he was doing something that he shouldn't be doing, and I called him in the office and talked to him about it and disciplined him for it or fired him or told him I'd expect his resignation or whatever the issue may be, and it was a very serious thing that he did, he could go out into the public and tell everybody in the public that I fired him for no reason and that he quit because he didn't like the working conditions there and he didn't like what was happening and he didn't like this or that. And Tim could go out and say anything he wanted to say in the public. And as an employer, I can't respond to that. I can't tell what happened. I can't tell why Tim left. I can't tell the issues behind that. And so we're restricted on that when it comes to employees and personnel. The other thing that was involved in the article that I cannot talk about, I can't even make a comment about really, is the fact of the things that involve medical care, that involved different allegations of medical issues. There are some things that not only are alleged there, but around different places that people go out and say, inmates say about medical care and about different things. And under the HIPAA laws that currently exist, I may be able to easily refute what they say. I may be able to have documentation or show that what they say is not true, but due to HIPAA laws, I can't show that. I can't even talk about it.
For folks who may not know what HIPAA law that is,
Go ahead.
HIPAA is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. So it's legislation that the U.S. put in place that provides data privacy and security provisions for safeguarding medical information. So for folks that may not know what HIPAA is, that's what that is.
So again, using Tim for an example, if Tim is an inmate at the jail now, he's not an employee no more, but he's an inmate now, and he's at the jail, and he sends a sick call, and he says that he's hurting in some manner, he hurt himself, or somebody else hurt him, or he's sick, or whatever it may be, and we take him to the medical staff and to the medical unit, and they determine that nothing's wrong, or they can't treat him, or whatever's wrong with him is treated in a manner they see fit. Again, Tim could go out and talk about how he didn't get medical care and how all these things happened and never got to see the doctor and they didn't treat him right and give him wrong medications and did all these things. He can make all these allegations. But under the HIPAA laws, I'm not allowed to tell the truth. I'm not allowed to tell what really happened on that. And so whenever you have these allegations and you have these things that come out, we are restricted by law that we really can't respond to a lot of these things. And I think that's one of the things that's really, really disheartening to me when these type of articles and these type of things come out is the fact of that I think it's very unfair. I think it's very unfair to the employer. I think it's very unfair to the person whom the allegations are against. That people can basically go out and say whatever they want to say without repercussion, but we're not able to tell the truth. We're not able to tell what really happened or even our version or our side of what happened. And because of that, I hope people understand that's the reasons why you don't see a rebuttal, you don't see a press release, you don't see those things coming out in response to this. And it's not the fact that you're trying to dodge an issue. It's not the fact you're trying to cover something up. It's not the fact that you're not wanting to talk about what happened. It's just that you're bound by law that you can't talk about it. And so I'm just going to leave that there with where that is. But one of the things that I can, there's a few things I am going to talk about that we can mention and talk about. But one of the things that has really bothered me more than anything on this, and I think has really disheartened me more than anything, And honestly, I'll just be honest with you, I've shed tears over it this week.
Right.
That has really bothered me more than anything, is that during this time that all these allegations supposedly happened, and during this time that all these things were so detrimental and going on, according to the reporting people of this at the detention center, I had multiple meetings with detention staff. Meetings corporately where we met with all the detention staff at the same time, had meetings where we met with detention staff individually, supervisors individually, met with detention officers individually, met with multiple people individually during this time period that supposedly all this was happening. And during this time period, and I did it then and I still do it today, I'm going to have a meeting today with my entire office, and this will be said again today, is that if you know of anything that's illegal, immoral, unethical that goes on in this office, I want to know about it. Come tell me. I want to take care of the problem and fix the situation that's there. And as you can imagine, with over 100 employees, there's always things that somebody don't like. There's things that either they don't like the policy change, or they don't like the way we're doing something, or they don't like personality with someone, or whatever it may be. There's always things you don't like. But I encourage people then, and I encourage people now, and I still encourage people, not only to report anything like that to your supervisors, but come to me with it. I want to know. Let me know. And during all these meetings of corporately and individually with these people, of asking the same questions and let me know of anything and what's going on down there, to this date, I have never had a employee come to me and share any of this information with me. None. And I think that's disheartening to me. That is very disheartening that if in fact it was true, if it turns out that there is some validity to that, it's very disheartening that supervisors would allow that to happen and that people would allow that to go on down there. And when asked specifically, personal, one-on-one, is anything going on that I need to know about, they wouldn't tell me about it. That is what's disheartening to me. That is what has bothered me more than anything. And like I say, during this time period of these allegations, no employee ever reported to me of this activity. Since I've read this article and since I've been made aware of these accusations that are going on out there, I have spoken to other employees that was employed during that time period. I have contacted and talked with employees that worked on the same shifts with these people, that have some that's worked on other shifts, but they were employed during that time period. And through talking with these people, I have found no evidence to corroborate what these people are saying. I've had no supporting evidence. No one has come to me supporting what these accusations are out there. And so I want to make sure that people understand that also. And really, it's devastating to me. It really hurt me to think that I had employees that had knowledge of something like this going on and didn't report it and didn't come to me. And obviously, according to what the Carolina Public Press article said, it's more than one, that there were several that made statements to the newspaper. It's disheartening that you're trying to run an office to the best of your ability and do things to the best of your ability, and you have no knowledge of this, and you read about it in the newspaper 2 or 3 years later. That is very disheartening to me. The other thing I want to mention in there is that there was some mention in there in that article about lawsuits at the detention center and the sheriff's office. I checked with the civil process today and checked with the attorney yesterday evening. To my knowledge, even as late as this morning, we have not been notified of any lawsuits pending or anything served on our office, or no notifications of any pending lawsuits. Over the years, there has been people who have filed affidavits with the federal clerk's office and state and attempted to file lawsuits. But to date, every one of them has been dismissed on its face as no evidence and not a valid lawsuit to be filed. So to my knowledge, as of this morning, we have not faced any lawsuits and have not been notified of any lawsuits. So we just want to clarify that too. The other thing that was in this article that I want to clarify just a little bit is the writers in the Carolina Public Press said that the public records requests were sent, and there were records that was not responded to, some that were redacted, some that were altered in some manner. And so I want to clarify a little bit about that too. Every public record request that goes to my office goes to our attorney. Everything we have goes to the attorney. We do not respond to the public records request as an office. We send it to the attorney reviews the records, and the attorney responds to those public record requests. He determines what is sent out and what isn't. Something that was said that the public records request went unanswered or redacted. And what I want to tell you is the fact of that a lot of times newspapers especially will send things wanting us to state our opinion or to talk about things or to make statements. And a records request is a request for record. And so it's not a request of what I think about something. We're not bound by law to tell me what I think about it or what I want you to know. It's a request for a record. And so those records is what is sent to them. The redacted records or records that were altered in some manner are things that, when I talked to the attorney about that yesterday, there was some that was redacted information that he sent, and those things were narratives that were involving criminal investigations. Things that were going on that were currently under criminal investigations or being investigated. And by law, again, we're bound by the law that we cannot send those things out. That does not make it public record at that point when there's a criminal investigation going on. And the reason for that is because you don't want to taint the judicial system. You don't want to put records out there, statements out there, things to the public that might can influence the judicial process or potential jury trials later on down the road and things of that nature. So that's why by law, those have to be redacted or those have to be altered or can't be sent out. And so I think that was a little bit misleading to the readers also. And I want to mention along with that too, is that those same records, those unedited documents, those documents as they are, were all provided to and sent to the State Bureau of Investigations in their criminal investigations that they are conducting. And so to understand that they got the unredacted, unedited reports. Anything that's released that's unredacted, unedited, has to come from that investigating agency, which in this case would be the State Bureau of Investigations. In addition to that, one thing I want to say about that, about records and about the investigations that are going on, everything that I have had knowledge of that I felt like was credible, that needed some investigation done to it, I have personally contacted the State Bureau of Investigations and the District Attorney's Office and reported those things that needed to be reported. Anything that was internal, in-house, policy violations, those type of things, anything that happened with employment were acted upon swiftly and done in a manner that was professional within our office. And so, but again, I can't elaborate on that. I can't talk to you about it due to personnel laws. But I want to end this segment by saying a couple things. When things like this happen, when these things come out and these people go out and say the things that they say, it hurts personally. It hurts me personally. And I had a sergeant talking to me this morning. He said, he said, this is not about you. It's about the office, and it's about all those type of things. And it's hard not to take it personally, but I do take it personally because I pour my heart and my soul into my community. I give my community, I give the office of sheriff everything I have, and I sacrifice my family for it. I sacrifice other areas of my life. I sacrifice my health. I sacrifice my peace of mind. I sacrifice a lot of things to do this job just because I love my community. And so when people come out and attack, I do take it personal, and it hurts. And even though you expect those type of things, and even though from an elected position, to expect attacks, expect that those things are coming, it still hurts when they come, and it still hurts when things happen. The thing about it is this, and one of the reasons why it hurts so bad is because if these things are true, and if these things did happen, I'm ultimately responsible for it. I have no one to shift the blame to. I have nobody else to point a finger at, even though I may not have known about it, even though something may have been happening I was not aware of. As sheriff, I'm still responsible for it, and it all comes back to me. And so anything like this that happens, I do take it personal. and I take it very personal. But looking into the future and looking at where do we go from here and what do we do at this point, we're getting ready to start a second term on December 1st. We're getting ready to start our second 4 years of going in there. So we want to start our next 4 years by making administrative changes in the detention center, by doing the things that we need to do there to try to make changes within my office, not just the detention center, but my office entirely. And looking at where we need to make those changes, both personnel-wise, administrative-wise, and making those changes and doing the things that we need to do. We want to make sure that we do these changes so that we get the second 4 years started off at a good start. And we want to be that sheriff's office, and we want to be that office that people are proud of, that people are looking at and saying, like we did our first 3 years, and saying that, this is where I want to work, this is where I want to be. And I've had people all over the state calling and saying, before this article came out, calling and saying, you have a great office and I want to work there. I want to be a part of that. I've heard what you're doing. I've heard of the great things. And those are the things that we want to continue going in these 4 years. Things happen. And sometimes things happen that kind of knock us off kilter a little bit. Sometimes things happen that alters kind of where we thought we would be at. But ultimately, the character of someone is, what do you do when it happens? And even though we can't change what happened before, we can certainly look at what do we do from this point forward. And so we want to make those changes and do the things that we need to do to move forward. And that does include administrative changes. That does include personnel changes. That does include a revamping and looking at what we're doing and how to do things different to ensure that this never, ever, ever is an issue again. And so that's what our goal is for the next 4 years.
Has this experience changed how you feel about media outlets?
Absolutely.
I thought so.
It has. One of the things that happened on this that I want to make sure that people understand too, according to an email that I got from these writers of this story, the Friday before the article came out on Monday, I was sent an email that stated that this article was going to come out on Monday. I opened that email, I think it was somewhere around 3 o'clock on Friday when I saw it, and it said they had been working on it for 4 months and revamping and revising their story for 4 months. But when I opened it at 3 o'clock, they gave me a deadline till 5 o'clock, 2 hours later, to respond to it and to make statements. And they threw a few bullet points in there about what was going to be on the article, but I had no idea what it was going to say. And they gave me 2 hours to make some kind of response to it. And so, I find that very disheartening. And I relayed that into an email that I sent back to the story writers. I find it disheartening that you would spend 4 months accumulating evidence and talking to people and putting a story together and all that, and never picked up the phone and called and asked any questions about it. Never picked up the phone and interviewed anybody from my office. Never talked to any of us about anything going on, but give us, there at the very last minute, just a deadline to respond to something that I didn't even know what I was responding to. And so, yes, to be honest with you, it has changed my opinion of media outlets. It's changed my opinion of dealing with media. I do want to say this, though, and I think it's very important. Me and Tim was talking right before we went on the air. Even though that it has changed my opinion a lot about media outlets, I do want to say that we have a very good relationship with our local media. With WKRK especially, we work together, we report things. I try to give Tim a head up when there's a story coming out and help us with posting stuff online and things of that nature. And I greatly appreciate WKRK for the way they have worked with us and the way they've handled stories and those type of things. Along with the Cherokee Scout, I want to say this. Me and Matthew and David don't always see eye to eye. Sometimes there's things we disagree about and some things I don't like about the way the paper does things. But I can honestly say that I feel at this point that Matthew and David both has been fair. I can honestly say that. And so, even though that I may not like what happens a lot of times in the media, I know it's a necessity. I know that is a necessity, that we need the media. We need people informed of what's going on. I just think the way the laws are made is very unfair. It's very unfair on story writing, that people can go out and say whatever they want to say, and we are bound by all these laws that we can't respond to things. And so my view of the media, my problem with the media, is not necessarily the media itself, but the way the laws are written and the way the laws are set up that we can't respond to it.
Right. I can see where one side is more protected than the other.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but we will continue moving forward and working together. And it is a situation where it was news, and we
Right.
had to share. You know, we didn't want to try to cover that up. So I also want to give you a chance to respond,
Right.
so that folks don't just hear a half a truth.
Well, I think it's important to respond to what we can respond
Mm-hmm.
to, and we talk about the things that we can talk about. And I just wish, like I say, I wish I could do an hour-long program and go through that article line by line and talk about the personnel issues that was involved in that, and all of the allegations that involved medical and all those kind of things, and you know, the SBI investigations and all that. I wish I could respond to all that, but unfortunately I can't.
All right. Well, let's see. Last Saturday, we'll just change the subject. We'll just
Okay.
say we're done talking about that now. If you're good with that,
I'm good with that.
you don't ever have to talk about it again. All right. Not on
I
the
wish
show.
that was true.
Running with the Law, that happened this past Saturday night.
It did.
Was a nice crowd, and quite a few folks showed up for that. And tell us what the whole purpose of Running with the Law is.
Well, again, Running with the Law, like I say, is one of those things that tries to help the community get involved with law enforcement. It's sponsored by our Women's Auxiliary Unit, and they have some co-sponsors that goes along with that. But it's just an opportunity to try to get our public involved with law enforcement and try to see the side of law enforcement that you don't see a lot. The human side, the side that make relationships, to let people know that we are there to serve and protect. That the law enforcement officers that are here patrolling the streets are there to help you. And it's just a good little fun way of just kind of bringing all that together and just having a fun time and interacting with each other.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, anything you want to say? I realize our time has gotten
Yeah,
away
we're a little
from
farther
us.
than I intended to, but I think it'll be all right.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Sheriff, thank you very much for being a part of the show and for responding, because I know this is probably not the most fun show we've done.
It's not. We've done a lot better.
Yeah, I think the snake in the car was the best.
I do think that was the #1 show that people still talk to me about. That's
Uh-huh.
been, probably a couple summers ago?
It has been.
Yeah,
It was
at
my
least a couple-
favorite.
yeah.
I still have bruising in my ribs from laughing so hard.
Well, I'll try to do something crazy like that to entertain you again. one
That
of
would
these
be
days.
fantastic. We'll work on that.
Y'all have a great day.
Folks, enjoy it. You're tuned to WKRK 105.5 FM, 1320 AM, cable TV channel 25, and worldwide at country.